back at it again, and things are heating up all over the place. I mean, there's so much going on, which, you know, makes you wonder, what are we being distracted from? Other than, of course, you know, Biden being the worst president in U.S. history, of course. You know, got to distract from that. You know, you can't focus on Biden. You focus on Biden, and them numbers gonna keep sliding. Ooh, Biden sliding. That actually has a ring to it. Them numbers are sliding, Biden. Anyway, former FBI assistant director made some interesting statements recently. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button if you are new. Yeah, made some statements about Hunter. So yeah, this is going to be juicy. If you'd like to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, though, watch this video to the very end. Helps out tremendously. I would greatly appreciate it. With that being said, let's dive in.
Welcome back. Now, President Trump has 9 days to turn himself into a Georgia court. He is facing an arraignment on 13 charges brought by the Fulton County District Attorney. This indictment cites 12 of the former president's tweets, including a December 2020 post when he claimed he had enough votes to flip Georgia. There's a tweet from January of 2021 where he claimed then Vice President Pence can reject electors. And then there are 2 other tweets that show Trump telling his followers where they can watch hearings on the Georgia election. These are the quote-unquote pieces of evidence for Georgia indicting Trump. Joining me now is former FBI Assistant Director, Agent and Attorney Chris Swecker. Chris, great to have you. Your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, when we start indicting people for tweets, we're in big trouble. So if you look at this 98-page indictment, it is an incredibly grandiose stretch, in my opinion. I've worked with the RICO statutes, not necessarily the one in Georgia, but the federal ones. And the best way to lose this tool to fight organized crime is to abuse it. And I look at this as an abuse of the RICO statute. That's not what it's designed for. This is really an effort to eradicate Trump supporters in Fulton County and the state of Georgia. So you know, you're going to need a bigger courtroom to fit all the defendants and lawyers in that courtroom, and it's going to be multi-year litigation. It's going to last forever.
Well, that's the point that I want to make, because you're
absolutely going to last forever. And you know, that's one thing that I've always wondered, you know, when it came to, you know, court cases over the years, not, you know, these now, but holy cow, these things take forever. You know, you'd see someone go to jail for something and it'd be like two years down the line and they're still going to court. And I'm like, what in the actual crap is going on? But of course now, all of a sudden, you know, everybody, you know, who's charging Trump wants, you know, hey, we want a speedy trial. We want this done in 9 months and 6 months. And I'm like, hold on. Pump the brakes. Hold on. What about this other case that y'all have been going through for 2 years? What about this other one? Y'all been going through that for 1.5 years, but now all of a sudden y'all want 6 months, 9 months? Y'all smell that? Something smells political here, you know? If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. You know, they like to say, oh, well, this isn't political. Of course it's political. I mean, it's right there in our face, in my humble opinion. But of course, who am I, you know?
Saying multi-year litigation, that's what I was expecting. These are the kinds of cases that require lots of discovery, including deposition. Can you jam that in before the 2024 election?
I don't think you can. I mean, you take those 18 defendants and their lawyers and figure, you know, at least a half a dozen motions for each one of them on different issues, all that have to be litigated, motions in limine, all kinds of constitutional issues here. This is going to be the forever litigation. I don't think there's any way they're going to fit this in before the election, although that is the prosecutor's intent and that is what she would like to do. You know, there's an ego-driven motive here as well. All these tin-horn prosecutors want to be the first one to get Trump criminally. And it's become, you know, sort of a notch in your belt, if you will, a way to gain notoriety both politically and as a, in these Democratic strongholds. So I just don't see this one getting any legs before the election.
Well, it's just extraordinary what we're watching happen in real time. The Fulton County Court is still trying to explain how a version of the Trump indictment leaked. Before it was actually executed, it was posted online while the grand jury was still meeting on Monday. And now they have answered. They say, oh, it was a mishap during a trial run. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, okay. But let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, given that this is probably the single most sensational indictment in that county, you would think they would take extra care. It's either incompetence or there's an agenda here. I don't know which one's worse. Probably the agenda. I don't have any inside information about it, but this is not how the justice system works.
No, it's
facts. There's definitely an agenda here. I mean, it's as clear as daylight. You'd have to be a bat not to see this. You'd have to be as blind as a bat. I mean, it's insane, absolutely insane and clear. And there's allegedly, or possibly, another indictment coming out of Arizona. So, and the more this stuff happens, like I've said before, the more it wakes people up. Of course, you'll have people on the left who are going to key and clap about all of this, not realizing if they manage to pull this off somehow, some kind of way, which I don't think that they will, but if they do, the same tactics that they used against Trump, they will turn and use against us the moment that you disagree with them. And I just hope that if it does get to that point, which I don't believe that it will, and I've given those reasons in the past, so I'll spare you guys that long explanation, but if it ever does, I hope that there's a turn back route, somehow, some kind of way. If they did manage to pull this off and then they started to lock people up and then people on the left realized, oh, we were just pawns this whole time. Holy crap. No. Bring back Uncle Trump and the Republic, because eventually they will get to that point if that were to be the outcome, which once again, I don't believe that will be. But I hope that there's a turn back route. I just don't think that there would be if we ever got that far, which is why we all gonna make sure we don't ever get close to that. I mean, well, I guess you can make the argument. We're kind of close now, but I don't think it's going to happen.
It's not. And of course, we're watching two different applications of the law when you consider what's gone on with President Trump, with what's gone on with President Biden and an investigation into Joe Biden by the House Oversight Committee. Now we understand Hunter Biden's longtime attorney, Chris Clark, withdrew from the federal tax case this week. Prosecutors are blaming Hunter's legal team for the broken down plea agreement, claiming that it's inaccurate that prosecutors reneged on an agreement which would have given Hunter blanket immunity from other criminal probes, Chris.
What a shame.
I mean, it's amazing to me that David Weiss is the one who came up with this idea that if he agrees that he did not pay taxes, then he can get immunity for anything else. It wasn't until the judge said, wait a minute, aren't you investigating him right now? And they said, yes, we're looking at whether or not he was a foreign agent. So how do you put immunity on everything? And this is the guy who's going to run this case, the special counsel, David Weiss, the one who came up with that idea to give him an immunity?
It's an absolute sham and a joke. A joke. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And of course, they touted, oh, special counsel. We're going to appoint a special counsel to investigate. When the same guy tried to give him blanket immunity. What? You know what? Oh, man. Y'all share this because the American people need to see what's actually happening. And the average American isn't going to see this type of stuff. They aren't going to see this. Right? So it's up to us to make sure that we put this type of stuff in their face so they know exactly what's going on. So make sure you guys are sharing this stuff with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers. Well, maybe not your coworkers. I don't want people to get fired. Okay. But share it. Because the American people need to see this stuff and what they're actually pulling off, because I feel like the average American isn't going to be diving deep into this stuff. right? So when they see, you know, Republicans talk about, oh, you know, unfair justice and blah, 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 you know, they're like, oh, yeah, they're lying, you know, nobody's above the law, you know, because they don't see this stuff. So it's up to us.
Yeah, I mean, this was by design. People think that Weiss, you know, they're quick to point out that he was appointed under Trump as a U.S. attorney.
No, but he actually wasn't.
Really,
he was not appointed. And I spoke to President Trump about this, and he explained it to me. What happened was there were two senators from that state who were Democrats, and the two senators came up and said, "Okay, we want David Weiss." So then Trump appointed him because there were two Democrat senators who were pushing for him. So Trump didn't just come up with an idea to appoint David Weiss. No. He took the guidance of these two senators who were both Democrats, and then that's why he put him in place. So Trump told me specifically, I did not appoint him. The senators wanted him, so I went along with what they said. This is what he said to me the other day.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out. This is the way it works. The senators in a state recommend the U.S. attorneys.
Right.
Most of the time, the president will take that recommendation. It happens all across the country after every election, so you get a new slate of U.S. attorneys. But the point being that he grew up in that Biden machine in Delaware, and he knows what his role is. And in this case, one was to run out the clock if he could. Then they designed this poorly designed immunity agreement. That's a pure contract. I had a question. That was a question on the bar exam when I took it. The plea bargain is a contract, so they're going to litigate the contract now. Weiss tried to sneak that in there and get it past the court, and we're very lucky that this particular judge caught it. But it was designed basically to give Hunter Biden global immunity in the federal system, and they got caught red-handed. So now they're going to appoint him so-called special counsel. Well, now we have to look back at Merrick Garland, you know, denying that he ever didn't give him independence.
That's right.
So, you know, they were arguing for special counsel. He was arguing for special counsel quite a while back. What changed?
Yeah, what changed? Ted Cruz told me that this is the wrong special counsel. He joined me on Sunday Morning Futures. Here's the senator from Texas. Watch this. Your reaction to David Weiss being named as special counsel here?
Well, this appointment is camouflage and it's cover-up. I think it's disgraceful. Listen, David Weiss was the U.S. attorney handpicked to lead this investigation, who spent the last 5 years covering it up. David Weiss, who was personally selected by the two Democrat senators from Delaware, Tom Carper and Chris Coons. Not only that, David Weiss is the one that is subject to two whistleblower complaints from senior career IRS officials who came forward. They said they'd never seen an investigation like this in their entire time in law enforcement.
Chris, it raises the question about the FBI and what has taken place here. You've heard the whistleblowers. We know now that the FBI sat on the Biden laptop as President Trump was getting impeached, even though they knew that Hunter Biden had taken in millions from foreign adversaries, including China. What happened? You were a company man for a long time. Chris, what happened to the FBI?
Yeah, I think it started under Comey. I mean, what happened, or at least during my era, was agents like myself worked their way up from the street up to the executive level positions. Under Comey, they started parachuting in Department of Justice political appointees in some of the executive level positions in the FBI, and I think that you go fast forward into the next era, which is under Chris Wray, again another DOJ appointee. So politics has now entered the FBI, and I've compared notes with all my other, current and retired FBI agents, and that politics never entered the picture in my 24 years in the FBI, not once.
That's too bad.
And now it looks like every decision they make, they take these high-profile cases and opening political cases instead of going after organized crime, gangs, drugs, cartels, human trafficking. I'm not saying they're not doing that work, but they sure are expending a lot of resources on these political cases.
It's very disturbing.
Facts. Very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. Wow, where do I even begin? Caught red-handed. And it's crazy that there are a good number of Americans that don't know what's going on with this stuff. and the significance of it. And I think if, excuse me, if they did, a lot of people's minds would change. A lot of people's minds would change, you know, if they knew, oh, there was an intentional, allegedly, cover up of, you know, Hunter and what's going on. And even now, what's going on is very, very fishy at the least. You know, at the least, it's very, very fishy. You know, the same guy who tried to give him blanket immunity is now the, like, what sense does that make? Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Wow. And, you know, part of me also kind of feels bad for, you know, some of the low-level FBI workers and agents, because I feel like a lot of those folks, you know, just want to do their job and want to do their job well so that they can provide for their families. I hate to see people, you know, lose the income that they use to keep food on the table and a roof over their families' heads. But unfortunately, I think things have just taken a turn for the worst. And in order to fix it, I mean, maybe the answer is to completely tear it down and get rid of it. I mean, it sucks for the people that, you know, go home or go to work and do their job to the best of their abilities, because I'm sure not everybody is a political hack, right? It's like the argument that people used to try to use versus cops, you know, all cops are bad, you know, because you got a couple cops who do something stupid or do something terrible. They try to make a blanket statement to say all cops are bad. And I'm like, no, there are plenty of cops out there who want to do their job and do it well and do that and just want to make it back home to their family. Simple and plain. And I'm sure there's FBI agents and, you know, other three-letter agents that, you know, feel the exact same way. And obviously, I think that's part of the reason why you got some whistleblowers coming out. I'm sure there are plenty more that are afraid of what could possibly happen based on what the whistleblowers that already have come out have you know, basically revealed that is going on with them now that they've come out. So, man, scary times, but I do think the light at the end of the tunnel is in sight. It's definitely in sight, and I do think that we will make it. We will make it. We're gonna go through some dark parts still, but I think in the end, as I've said before, going through all of this is just going to make that end point even more glorious than it otherwise would have been before. Knowing, you know, what we went through. I think in a few years, you know, we'll look back on these times and like, whoo, we came darn close to going down the toilet. We came real close. You know, I truly do believe that we'll be looking back and, you know, wipe a sweat off our forehead. We came pretty darn close, man. We came real close. That's for sure. And I think that you will see, and I think this is part of the reason why they're fighting so hard, right? Because they know if they lose, they're going to jail. And I'm talking about all of these elites, all of these, you know, political hacks that are going after Uncle Trump. The crimes that they have committed, they've tried to cover up. And if they lose, when they lose, they know they're going down. Every last one of them. And it's going to be entertaining. Very entertaining. But as always, y'all let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section below. Like, share, comment. Hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.